And according to this nationwide survey, more doctors smoke Camels than any other cigarette. Try Camels yourself, the cigarette so many doctors enjoy.
Do you think ads today are ridiculous? Trust me, they're nothing compared to America in the 1950s. That was the era praised as the Golden Age. The model nuclear family, shiny suburban homes, everyone placing blind faith in science and glossy magazines. And that very innocence paved the way for some of the wildest ads in history. Doctors prescribing cigarettes like vitamins, babies turned into customers for harmful products, and even domestic violence used as a sales pitch. Hard to believe, right? Well, get ready, because here are 25 of the craziest ads of the 1950s. The kind that will make you rub your eyes to be sure they really existed. 25. Camel. The cigarette most doctors smoke? Back then, if you picked up an issue of Good Housekeeping from 1946, maybe looking for some cooking tips or an apple pie recipe, the very first page might hit you with a white-coated doctor, glasses gleaming, holding a Camel cigarette with smoke curling up. He smiled warmly, as if he'd just finished an exam and was about to write a prescription. 3 a day, plenty of water. And right underneath, in bold print, more doctors smoke Camels than any other cigarette. It read like an official medical report. The strange thing is, Americans at the time didn't see anything wrong. On the contrary, a doctor smoking brought reassurance. If doctors smoke, it must be safe, everyone believed. A 1950s housewife recalled, "I bought cartons of Camels for my husband, thought it was the healthy choice. If the doctor used them, why worry?" What's unbelievable is that this ad didn't just flash and disappear. It was reprinted for nearly 2 decades, filling magazines, running on TV. The image of a doctor with a Camel in hand became so familiar that many people truly believed Camels were less harmful than other brands. But in 1964, the historic Surgeon General's report struck like lightning. Smoking causes lung cancer. The entire nation was stunned, as if waking up from a long deception. And the smiling doctor with his Camel, once a symbol of trust, suddenly became one of the cruelest jokes in advertising history. 24. Heinz Soup. Stopping wife beating with soup. You won't believe this, but in the early 1950s, Heinz actually ran a soup ad that opened with the line, "Most husbands these days have stopped beating their wives." Nearly makes you fall out of your chair, right? And then, as if nothing happened, the ad continued. By serving Heinz soup to make meals more enjoyable. Yes, they used domestic violence as the opening gag, only to lead cheerfully into a bowl of hot soup. At that time, post-war America was embracing the nuclear family as the golden standard, with the husband working and the wife at home cooking. Ads often made women the butt of the joke. Clumsy wives bored husbands, and Heinz thought joking about husbands hitting wives was in fashion. A reader in 1950 might have skimmed past it as a cheeky line in the morning paper, but today, that single sentence would instantly kill a campaign and trigger a social media firestorm. The madness lies in how the ad reflected the terrifying normal of its era, when domestic violence was common enough to be played for laughs in marketing. And that's exactly why it deserves a top spot on this list. A chilling reminder of the shadows behind the glossy 1950s image. 23. 7-Up soda. Ads telling parents to give it to babies. If the Heinz ad shocked you, 7-Up in 1955 will make you shout, "No way!" In the magazine spread, a baby just 11 months old sat in the center of the picture, chubby face glowing, little hand reaching for a green soda bottle. Below was the proud slogan, "The youngest customers in the business." And to reassure parents, 7-Up added, So pure, so wholesome. You can give it to your baby? Yes, you read that right. In the mid-1950s, 7-Up actually encouraged parents to give soda to infants, promoting it as a kind of nutritious water. Their logic was both comical and terrifying. Soda had no caffeine, just sugar and bubbles, so it can't be harmful. The ad even showed parents pouring 7-Up into baby bottles, as if it were the modern scientific way to raise children. 22. Lysol, a cleaning product advertised like birth control. It sounds insane, but in the 1950s, Lysol ran a series of ads in Ladies' Home Journal, Cosmopolitan, and more, not just to sell toilet or floor cleaner. They implied that Lysol could also be used by women as a method of birth control. The familiar image was a young wife smiling beside her husband, with copy like, "Keep your husband's love through cleanliness and feminine care with Lysol." Some ads even wrote it outright. Your husband will be happier when you know how to prevent wisely. The frightening truth is, many women actually believed this, using Lysol to clean themselves inside after intimacy, a practice not only useless, but dangerously harmful. Lysol contained phenol-based chemicals that could cause burns, infections, even sterility. And yet, society of the time treated it as a modern solution. It's almost unthinkable that a household cleaner was once pitched as the secret to keeping your husband. It exposed not only the lack of medical information in that era, but also how women's marital fears were exploited to sell toxic chemicals. 21. Hoover Vacuum Cleaner, the perfect Christmas gift for your wife. Christmas morning, she'll be happier with a Hoover. That was the big headline on a 1953 ad, showing a wife lying on the carpet, her face glowing with joy, hugging a brand new vacuum wrapped like a treasure. Not a ring, not a necklace, but a shiny new Hoover. The message was crystal clear. Women would be happiest when given a gift that helped them clean faster. In the 1950s, when the perfect housewife was the cultural model, this ad drew no backlash. On the contrary, many homemakers truly saw a vacuum from their husband as proof of love. Society believed family happiness began with a spotless home, and Hoover was the very symbol of good care. Looking back now, it feels both funny and sobering. What was once celebrated as the dream gift reveals how women were boxed into kitchens and housework. And that is why Hoover's Christmas ad remains one of the most classic examples of the naive, even careless, gender advertising of America's golden age. 20. DuPont Cellophane, a baby wrapped in safe plastic. What would you think if you saw a newborn wrapped tightly in plastic? Today it sounds like a frightening warning, but in the 1950s, it was an official DuPont ad. The chemical giant showed a baby nestled inside a sheet of see-through cellophane, smiling sweetly, with a caption boasting that the product was so safe you can wrap your little angel in it. The shock lies in how cellophane was promoted as a miracle material, keeping food fresh, resisting moisture, and symbolizing modern life. But DuPont went further, turning a baby into living proof of safety. Imagine readers flipping through a magazine and seeing that scene. Many were not horrified, but persuaded. In post-war America, faith in science and synthetic materials was nearly absolute. On nostalgia forums today, people look back with chills. How could anyone think wrapping a baby in plastic was a good idea? But to 1950s parents, it was a moment of pride, proof that the new chemical world would make life cleaner and safer than ever. An ad like this exposes the innocence of the era, while showing just how far brands were willing to go to prove superiority, even with an image that makes modern audiences' skin crawl. 19. Lucky Strike, cigarettes, 20,069 doctors can't be wrong. If Camel bragged that more doctors smoke Camels, Lucky Strike went for science with a bolder card. 20,679 doctors agreed. Not 20,000 consumers, but doctors. The trick was laughably scary. The company sent free cartons of Luckies to physicians and asked, "How do you feel after smoking them?" That was enough to produce a massive statistic to plaster across ads. Less irritating to the throat, confirmed by over 20,000 doctors. This campaign ran heavily in Life, the Saturday Evening Post, and other major magazines, convincing Americans that cigarettes were not just harmless, but medically backed. Many truly believed. Smoke Luckies. It's safer. The doctors say so. Only in 1964 did the Surgeon General's report reveal the deadly link between smoking and cancer. And by 1971, when cigarette ads were banned from TV and radio, the slogan 20,679 doctors had become one of the most absurd marketing ploys in American history. 18. Van Huysen ties. A woman on her knees. Open a 1951 magazine, and you'd see this. A man lounging comfortably in bed, grinning with satisfaction. Beside him, a woman kneels, offering a breakfast tray. And splashed across the page, "Show him it's a man's world." Yes, this was an ad for Van Huysen ties, but it wasn't just selling ties. It was selling the idea that men in ties deserved to be served, and women were born to serve. At the time, many readers nodded along. Suburban America was living by a formula. The husband was the provider, the wife the perfect homemaker. Today, the image feels like a slap. It is still cited as one of the most brazenly sexist ads ever printed, showing just how harshly women were boxed in. Their morning joy, apparently, was kneeling at the bedside while the husband adjusted his Van Huysen tie. 17. Chase and Sanborn coffee. The wife punished for buying the wrong brand. What did coffee ads of the 1950s usually show? Warm mornings, rich flavor, family togetherness. But Chase and Sanborn went the other way. They made a husband spanking his wife the center of the ad. Instead of a steaming cup, readers saw a wife bent over her husband's lap, punished for not buying the right coffee. The caption underneath drove the message. If your husband discovers you're not store testing for fresher coffee. It implied coffee wasn't just a drink, but a test of a woman's competence as a wife. Fail, and you deserved punishment. Strangely, in the mid-50s, this wasn't seen as wrong. In a conservative culture where men were the heads of households, some even found it funny. That is why this ad remains a classic case in media studies, often recalled with the bitter question, did domestic violence really sell coffee? It reminds us that there was a time when women's pain was not just dismissed, but packaged as entertainment and marketing. 16. Milltown, the housewife's tranquilizer. While society still called housewives the flower of the home, the drug industry offered a ready-made dose of happiness. Between 1955 and 1959, Milltown exploded across America. It wasn't a vitamin nor herbal tea, but a tranquilizer, advertised as the key to turn stress into smiles within minutes. Magazine ads showed women serene in spotless living rooms, hair perfect, faces relaxed. One pill of Milltown, and the crying baby, the pile of dishes, or the cranky husband supposedly melted away. Some ads even depicted women taking it like a morning vitamin. The underlying question, why change society when you can change women's moods with a pill? Milltown quickly became the first so-called blockbuster drug. By the late 50s, 1 in 20 Americans was taking it, most of them women. It earned the nickname the housewife's little helper. Looking back, it is chilling. Instead of listening to the suffocation women felt, society handed them a pill to keep them quiet. 15. Dormeyer appliances. Wives told to cry for gifts. If Chase and Sanborn Coffee dared to make a joke out of a husband punishing his wife, Dormeyer, the American appliance company known for mixers, coffee, makers, and toasters, had another brilliant tactic, telling women to cry for Christmas presents. In the late 1950s, one Dormeyer ad spelled it out in bold instructions. Wife, study this ad carefully, circle the gift you want, give it to your husband. If he doesn't go to the store right away, cry a little. Not much, just a little. Then came the instructions for men. Husband, buy what she wants before she starts crying. Shocking and hilarious at the same time, isn't it? Instead of encouraging honest conversation, the ad turned marriage into a stage play. Wives used tears as a tactic. Husbands were reminded to behave like walking wallets. And the gifts? Not diamond rings, but mixers and toasters. It was the kind of Christmas happiness wrapped up in kitchen appliances. The surprising part is that many people found it funny back then. Women's magazines presented it as a light-hearted tip, and many homemakers recalled, "I tried it, and my husband really bought it." Reading it now, we can only shake our heads. A time when America believed women's tears could be traded for a kitchen machine. And so, along with Heinz, Van Huysen, and Chase and Sanborn, Dormeyer added yet another absurd gem to the museum of ads that make us laugh and cringe at the same time. 14. Children's cough syrup with addictive ingredients? Can you believe that in the 1950s, many American parents put their children to sleep, not with lullabies, but with a spoonful of opioids? Yes, cough syrups containing codeine were openly sold at pharmacies, with ads promising they would help your child sleep soundly through the night. In magazines, the images showed babies lying peacefully, eyes closed, mothers smiling in relief, like a miracle in a bottle. The truth was chilling. Codeine is an opioid related to morphine, a strong painkiller, addictive, and risky. Even in adults, it had to be used with great caution. And yet, it was being poured straight into infants. Just a slightly heavy dose could slow a child's breathing, even stop it completely. And here's the bitter part. Its effectiveness was almost zero. Later studies proved codeine worked no better than sugar water for coughs. For a whole decade, American children were being lulled to sleep by something both useless and dangerous. 13. Dr. Batty's asthma cigarettes, smoking as a cure. While doctors today warn against tobacco to protect the lungs, in 1950s America, there were still ads for a product called Dr. Batty's asthma cigarettes, claiming to treat asthma, colds, even bronchitis. The poster showed an elegant woman inhaling deeply, her face calm and relaxed. The bold copy promised no morphine, no opium, safe and effective for men and women. The message was so convincing that many believed inhaling smoke actually helped cleanse the lungs and clear the airways. Even worse, these cigarettes were sold in pharmacies as medicine. Some doctors even advised patients to try them for cough relief. Instead of curing, countless asthma sufferers were being pushed closer to lung cancer. Looking back, the ad feels like a cruel joke. It shows how the era's blind faith in white coats and lack of medical knowledge turned smoke, the #1 cause of lung disease, into a so-called miracle remedy. 12. Alcoa bottle caps. You mean a woman can open it? Step back to 1953. One morning, you flip open a magazine and see a woman with bright red lipstick, wide-eyed in surprise, holding a bottle of Del Monte ketchup. Next to her, the giant words shouted, You mean a woman can open it? Yes, this was an Alcoa aluminum ad for their new twist-off cap. The point seemed simple. No knives, no tools, just twist. But instead of saying easy for everyone, they chose shock value, stressing that even women, then stereotyped as weak and clumsy, could manage it. Read today, it feels both funny and bitter. A basic act, like twisting a cap, was sold as a female achievement. The ad captured the spirit of the time. Men as the pillars of strength. Women assumed to need help, even with the smallest things. In practice, the campaign worked, since consumers quickly remembered Alcoa's easy open cap. But today, that very image is often cited as a textbook case of outdated gender advertising, selling a product by putting women down. Was opening a bottle cap really worth calling a breakthrough? For Alcoa in 1953, yes. And that is why this ad stands among the most absurd in history. 11. Kent Micronite, cigarettes with a cancer-causing filter. In the 1950s, America was obsessed with one word: technology. Lorillard launched Kent cigarettes with the Micronite filter, hyped as the greatest health protection in history. Magazine ads showed smiling doctors holding a Kent cigarette, with the slogan reassuring smokers they were safer. But the brutal truth: the filter was made of blue asbestos, later proven to cause deadly lung cancer. Instead of protecting smokers, Kent turned every puff into poison. From 1952 to 1957, millions of Americans inhaled asbestos fibers, all while believing they were living healthier through science. Decades later, lawsuits revealed the company had been warned early, but ignored it. What remains is the memory of glossy ads with trusting smiles, when in reality, it was one of the deadliest deceptions in American advertising history. 10. Cigar ads, awakening the caveman in you. If Seconal promised to soothe the housewife, cigar ads of the late 1950s went straight for primal instincts. In 1959, the Cigar Institute of America rolled out the slogan, "Cigars, bring out the caveman in you." The images showed stern-faced men with oversized cigars, standing like they just stepped out of a cave. The message was clear. Smoking cigars wasn't just a habit, it was a declaration of power. Primitive male strength. The absurdity was that even as medical science began warning about tobacco, this ad romanticized raw force, turning smoke into a symbol of masculinity. It was as if they were saying, "Want to be strong, untamed? Light up a cigar." Those who lived through it now laugh bitterly. Cigars didn't awaken a caveman. They sent many to the hospital with cancer. Yet in 1959, millions of men believed a cigar could make them look more powerful. 9. Bromo Seltzer. Drink it every day for pain relief. Some ads sounded like motherly advice. Tired? Drink water? Headache? Take Bromo Seltzer every day. Sounds harmless, right? But it wasn't. In the 1950s, Bromo Seltzer was advertised as a miracle fizz for the whole family, for headaches, colds, even fatigue. Just drop a tablet in water, watch it fizz white, and voila, magic in a glass. The problem? The formula contained sodium bromide and acetanilide, both now considered toxic. Sodium bromide was addictive, causing confusion, tremors, even seizures if used too long. Acetanilide, one of the earliest painkillers, could damage the liver and blood. Yet the ad advised drinking it daily. Even more shocking, Bromo Seltzer was wildly popular. Americans kept it at home like coffee or tea. Only in the 1970s were the dangerous ingredients finally removed. It shows how powerful ads were, convincing an entire generation that drinking poison was a healthy daily habit. 8. Pepsi Cola. The light refreshment that fooled America. Now rewind to 1953. On the pages of Ladies' Home Journal and Good Housekeeping, you'd find slim young women in tight dresses holding sparkling glasses of Pepsi. The elegant slogan read, "The light refreshment for those who watch their figures." The message was obvious. Pepsi wasn't just a drink. It kept you slim, attractive, and desirable. Sounds convincing, but the shock was in the facts. A 12-ounce Pepsi then contained nearly 150 calories and over 40 grams of sugar, not light at all. Yet millions of American women believed it. They saw Pepsi as a guilt-free choice, sipping it while imagining they were caring for their bodies. The genius of Pepsi was that it didn't just sell soda, it sold insecurity. The unspoken warning was, if you don't drink Pepsi, you won't stay slim, won't stay attractive, and might lose your husband. The campaign blanketed magazines and billboards, sinking deep into the psyche of a whole generation. The irony is, it worked brilliantly. It laid the foundation for the entire era of diet marketing. Products with the word diet slapped on them to soothe weight anxieties, even if little changed. By 1964, Diet Pepsi officially launched, kicking off a soda diet race that never cooled down. The real fattening part of Pepsi in the 1950s wasn't the soda itself. It was the advertising America swallowed whole. 7. Hadacol, a vitamin that was really alcohol. Ever heard of a health tonic that was really just booze? That was Hadacol, heavily promoted in the 1940s and 50s as a miracle vitamin that could cure arthritis, ulcers, even depression. Ads promised Hadacol would make you healthier, happier, and live longer. But the shocking truth was that it contained 12% alcohol. In southern states, where alcohol laws were still strict, Hadacol became a legal loophole to buy and drink openly. People lined up just to sip a few swigs of this tonic. Stories circulated of folks buying it not to heal, but to throw parties. Millions of bottles sold, turning founder Dudley LeBlanc into a millionaire overnight. But when health agencies investigated, Hadacol was exposed as a fraud, a splash of vitamins diluted in booze. It didn't cure anything. It just got people drunk. Yet for years, Americans believed they were drinking a wonder drug. 6. Ipana toothpaste, a toxic chemical in your bathroom. You'd think brushing your teeth was the healthiest habit, right? But in 1959, Bristol-Myers launched Ipana toothpaste, boasting it was superior thanks to hexachlorophene, a powerful antibacterial. Ads showed sparkling smiles, nurses holding tubes like science's gift to hygiene. Americans believed it instantly. Kids, adults, whole families should use it daily. The harsh truth? Hexachlorophene was later found to be neurotoxic, especially dangerous for infants. Overuse could damage skin and even affect the central nervous system. Yet in the late 50s, millions brushed happily with it, thinking they were protecting their health. The madness was that the ads didn't lie outright. They just hid the cruel truth. And so, a symbol of hygiene and safety turned into a sweet poison in American bathrooms. 5. Kellogg's vitamins. For wives to have energy to serve husbands today, vitamin ads talk about health, beauty, and personal energy. But in the 1950s, Kellogg's vitamins targeted women with a bitter message. Take vitamins so you have the strength to serve your husband. The ad showed a weary wife, exhausted after a long day of housework. The copy urged women to take vitamins to keep up with cooking, cleaning, and caring for husband and children without complaint. No mention of personal joy or well-being. Everything revolved around the homemaker role. It perfectly reflected the era's mindset. women weren't encouraged to pursue careers or personal happiness. Instead, they were told to take vitamins to maintain the perfect home. Their exhaustion was turned into a business opportunity. 4. Tip-a-lay cigarettes. Blow in her face and she'll follow you anywhere. How would you react if a man blew smoke in your face at a cafe? At the very least, with outrage. But in 1970, Tip-a-lay cigarettes sold it as the ultimate seduction trick. The ads, splashed in Life and men's magazines, showed a young man blowing exotic flavored smoke into a woman's face. Instead of coughing or grimacing, she smiled dreamily. The tagline promised, "Blow in her face and she'll follow you anywhere." Shockingly, the public bought it. Tip-a-lay sold tens of millions of cigarettes within a few years, grabbing nearly 1% of the U.S. market in 1970. A remarkable figure for a new brand. In cities like New York and Chicago, sales doubled thanks to this caveman charm campaign. 3. Bayer Children's Aspirin, Candy-Coated Danger. Was there ever a drug marketed to kids like candy? Yes, Bayer Children's Aspirin. In the 1950s and 60s, ads encouraged parents to give kids orange-flavored aspirin daily for health. The images showed happy children clutching the chewable tablets like treats. At its peak, Bayer sold hundreds of millions of these tablets annually, dominating the children's medicine market. For many families, it was a daily ritual, like drinking milk. But later research revealed aspirin was linked to Reyes syndrome, causing brain and liver damage with a 30 to 40% fatality rate. Even as warnings appeared, ads continued to call it a sweet gift for children. Looking back, Bayer Children's Aspirin stands as the ultimate example of dangerous advertising naivety, turning deadly risk into a family routine. 2. Seconal, sleeping pills for a happy family. In the mid-1950s, when American housewives juggled children, demanding husbands, and endless chores, ads didn't suggest rest or sharing the load. Instead, Ladies' Home Journal ran a full-page ad for Seconal, a barbiturate sleeping pill. The slogan was soothing: "Sleep soundly, life looks brighter." The illustration showed a housewife lying peacefully in bed, hair neat, face serene, as if every worry had melted away with a pill. At the time, Seconal was incredibly easy to buy, no real safeguards. Nobody mentioned its high risk of addiction or overdose, even though a small misstep could be fatal. It was pitched as a family solution every woman should keep at hand. So instead of changing women's stifling circumstances, society gave them a pill to sleep through it, only to wake up and repeat the cycle. Seconal wasn't just a drug. It was a symbol of a time when problems were hushed instead of solved. 1. Bell and Howell, Sabrina sells a film projector. Another shocking ad came in 1959 when Bell and Howell promoted its home movie projector. Instead of touting specs, they used the British starlet Sabrina, famous for her 36-23-35 figure, posing beside the bulky machine. She wore a thin silk dress, studio lights highlighting her curves, with the bold line, "Sabrina introduces the finest movie projector in the world." They called it a projector ad, but nobody was looking at the machine. Men went wild, sales spiked. Yet when asked, buyers remembered Sabrina, not the product. A clunky device meant for vacation slides suddenly became desirable thanks to suggestive marketing. It's unsettling to realize how a cold piece of technology was sold with a woman's body. Bell and Howell wasn't selling projectors. They were selling the fantasy of owning Sabrina. The projector became the clearest proof of the old rule: sex sells. And that wraps up the crazy journey through 25 unbelievable ads of the 1950s. Now I want to hear from you. If you lived back then, would you have laughed, believed every word, or toss the magazine in the trash? Leave your thoughts below. And don't forget to subscribe, because the next videos will make you think even harder.